Estamos haciendo una prueba de sonido para la traducción simultánea. Recordemos que esta Asamblea Mundial por la Amazonía también se va a transmitir virtualmente, ya que estamos en un tejido planetario en defensa de la madre selva amazónica. Gracias. Buen día nuevamente. Estamos haciendo una prueba de sonido para la traducción simultánea y a las personas que están escuchando el día de hoy les pedimos que por favor se hagan más cerca, más en el centro. Sintamos el calor y la bondad que está emanando de todas y todos. Muchas gracias.
What was just being explained is how to use the interpretation feature. All you have to do is to go to the lower bar, choose the lower bar of your screen, choose the English language. When you press well, he's explaining now. There are Spanish and Portuguese as official languages, but we also have French and English, and we're very happy to meet here in the city of Belém do Pará, where the Amazon River launches into the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, sorry. So this is going very well. I understand the warmth of our colleagues here and the memories that they bring from their territories in the Pan Amazon and Latin America and the planet. If you want to hear it in English, you have to press the globe, choose the English channel. For those who are speaking here, we want to invite you to sit. If you're going to speak, please sit on the front rows, first and second rows, in order to have access to the podium. Thank you.
Representação educativa, o coletivo 660, e a gente faz parte da Assembleia Mundial pela Amazônia. A gente queria começar a Assembleia hoje. Espero que vocês estejam prontos para começar com a gente. Então, hoje a gente gostaria de começar com um poema.
Bueno, como dijo mi compañera Janaína, bienvenidas, bienvenidos a esta segunda Asamblea Mundial por la Amazonía en el marco del Foro Social Panamazónico que realizamos acá en Belém do Pará. Y vamos a comenzar con un pequeño poema. Hay un lugar donde los ríos vuelan, donde mora la cura da terra, donde se encuentra la reserva espiritual de la vida, los saberes para sobrevivir y bien vivir, donde los comunes se tejen en esperanza y cuidan y nos cuidan. Ese lugar es la Amazonia.
Então, aqui a gente se reúne na Amazônia para a segunda Assembleia Mundial pela Amazônia, como o Álvaro falou, em Belém do Pará, que está acontecendo hoje, no dia 28 de julho, na abertura do 10º Fórum Social Panamazônico. A gente constata que hoje a Amazônia ela é fonte de vida e ela está ameaçada de morte. Se não salvarmos a floresta, não se salvará o mundo, pois é a floresta que segura o mundo. Nós somos seres inter- e ecodependentes e com a Amazônia nós podemos escutá-la e levantar as nossas vozes. Bem-vindos, bem-vindos e bem-vindes.
Bueno, como en todo encuentro.
Well, as in every meeting, it is important to introduce ourselves. I'm Álvaro Restrepo, and I'm part of the World Assembly for the Amazon, and I come from Colombia. It is a pleasure to meet you in this beautiful Belém do Pará city. To begin, we're going to make an offering for word and feeling for the Mother Earth. We will invite some people because we're all the assembly, yes, but as we talked before, let's follow this in your territories and with our sweet words in this offering for struggle and resistance for Mother Earth and the Amazon. So we invite all those who came from Peru, Colombia, Bolivia, Peru, Brazil. Could you please come over, I think he said. Sorry.
Este primer momento es una apertura.
This first moment is an opening where we begin this tissue, this threading, this interwoven sharing. We will share our memory, our feelings, our affection, and our resistance. I would like to remind you, I don't know if everybody saw, but we have in simultaneous translation. And for those who are participating, I would like to hear the assembly only in Portuguese or only Spanish. In the entrance, there are headphones that are being distributed so that you can follow in the language that you choose. Well, thanking this Amazon Mother Earth that receives us with the memory of those who came before us and to us. We will give them this sweet word that dreams to be an engine for life. We'll start with this colleague here who comes from Colombia, speaking in indigenous language, Maria Rosario Chicunque. I come from the beautiful country of Colombia, representing in the 10th Social Forum of the Amazon to defend the Amazon. Indigenous language. I'm very happy to be participating in this World Day for the Defense of the Amazon. The women are forest, our Amazon, our water, our ocean, and we connect from the spirituality.
Kabung bebuts mamat bong huta wayena huabia kabung behua kem guamaluare La Amazonía y la cordillera andino-amazónica nos conecta.
The Amazon and the Andes connects us and invites us to protect life, and protecting life is to take care of Mother Earth. If we take care of the territory, if we take care of the forest, we are ensuring life for humanity. I sing to life, I sing to love, I sing to my forest that is all my being. I sing to life, I sing to love, I sing to my forest, which is all my being. The forests, the rivers, the oceans get together to give us life to humanity. The jungles, the rivers, the ocean get together to get life, to give life to us, the humanity. I sing to life, I sing to love, I sing to my forest that is all my being. The elderly's hands of a great woman, the forest, Mother Earth, teach me how to live within my womb, the jungle I was born. And at some point I will come back to you. Within your womb, my forest, I was born. And at some time I will go back to you. I sing to life, I sing to love. I sing to my forest, which is all my being. Hooray for the World Day for the Amazon. I am Luz Marit Panche of the NASA people of Colombia, Caquetá, Colombian Amazon. And we greet the World Assembly for the Amazon and the forum, the social forum of the Amazon. And we're here to make up for the voice of the forest, Mother Earth. Hooray for the originary people of the Amazon and the Pan-Amazonic region. We live as human beings with a mission to be guardians of the earth. The earth doesn't need us to exist, but we need it to be here, and that's the mission. So, my colleagues, we express this greeting, and we want that the commitment be done on our part in the Amazon, in the Pan-Amazonic region, and in humanity, so that we recover the conditions of human beings and be able to protect Mother Forest. Let's reconciliate with Mother Earth. Let's reconcile with Mother Earth so that there is peace, life, and health and dignity. From Peru, a greeting to all those present here, representatives of Pan-Amazonic region. My greetings to our Mother Earth, the Pachamama, on behalf of all the people who suffer on the planet. The land belongs to the Lord, regardless of any nation, any people, any religion that might be present here. We understand that this earth was given to us. Such a small and fragile forest as seen from the space, but so big and generous and makes it possible for the life of everyone on this planet. It feeds us, it takes care of us, it sustains us, it protects us, and has given us life. We are sons and daughters of Mother Earth. We are composed of water, energy, and air. We are here to become aware of the importance of the Amazon and the forests in general on our planet, because they are life, and of that we need. I take off my sandals because to talk about the earth is also to step on sacred land. We have to enter it with very much respect. And I ask the Lord that during these days, we recover the awe and the respect. And only like that can we have a commitment that might be serious and complete and acknowledge that we are sons and daughters of this planet. Well, cordial greetings to all the indigenous people, and to all the peoples where we are right now. A very good morning to all. We, as Bolivians, will salute you in our own idioms, and we have several languages here, and we'll make a little drama, thanking Mother Earth. Okay.
Bueno, la compañera ahorita va a cantar en su propia idioma y nosotros vamos a bailar para así agradecer a la Madre Tierra.
My colleague will thank Mother Earth in her own language. Indigenous language, Bolivia.
Chapie. Bueno, nosotros venimos del pueblo indígena de las naciones.
Well, we come from the indigenous people of the Guarani people. We are here from Bolivia. And in our languages, our original languages, we have different idioms, different language. So we want to thank everybody for the invitation to be here in the territory of Belém. The singing that I have just made is thank you to Mother Earth to give us the nature, the life, air, which is created by Mother Earth. We are also created by the Lord, and we are here to check out our identity as a culture, as a nation, as indigenous peoples, and how we value our territory and our nature and our forests, because we live from them. And because of them, we're here. Without nature, we cannot live because we will not have the air, the water. So today we want to thank for being here, to give thanks for being here, and to thank our ushers to this place to expose our necessities. As indigenous people of Bolivia, I'll hand over the floor now to my colleagues. Indigenous language.
Ay pota mondo tamaraeme opaete oiko kwa oyu jorope allá ya soropay organizadores pues oyapo posible ñaivaina
She's thanking the organizers of the event.
ñamente nonde muiranta opaete ñandebe allá ya soropay ñande si iwi hay come tecobe yerovia hay come romo puenevaina romo produce hay come tecobe ya soropay opaete ayu Bolivia cherenta guasupe Aiko Nación Guaraní, ya soropay.
Indigenous language. Thank you, brothers and sisters. A very good day to you. I come from the platform of self-government of the nation One Piece from Peru. I would like to thank the strong spirit of the ancestors, because that spirit has followed us in this voyage from our territories to be here. Every one of them, every one of us from far away have come here in the beautiful city of Belém. The world is in a crisis. The Amazon is sick, and the planet, as a consequence, is also sick. This brings us to Belém to participate in the Pan-Amazonic Social Forum. We, the Amazon people, very concerned because of the sickness of the Amazon. We are very concerned because the government haven't done anything for the Amazon. We can always do something to save the Amazon and to make generations to continue to exist. Science people said that only 600 years are left in oxygen for us to breathe. So we invite you all to work together and to take concrete actions in order to leave to our sons and daughters the nature that our ancestors have given us. Money can't be eaten. There is much money in European countries. They're happy because they have so much money, but if the earth is contaminated and nothing is produced from this earth, this money will not serve to anything, for anything to Europeans. That's why we, the One Piece, have said, we're not much interested in money, but we're interested in taking care of the earth so that it exists, so that we can continue sowing and to feed the planet. One message that we built from the One Piece Nation is that time is water. People used to say that time is gold. No, time is water, because without water, without gold, you can live with gold, you can live a long life, but without gold, you can survive, but without water, you cannot. So we have the goal that time is water. So that's why we should take care of it. Many of the peoples in the Amazon, when there was no water, they struggled to be able to get this water. They put their blood in order to recover water. So water is sacred. It's drinkable water, and there is much of it in the Amazon. And we're here to struggle as allies, as Andean and Amazonian peoples, to make up for a clean Amazon for us and for humanity. Thank you very much.
Buenos días, hermanos.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. We want to thank God, and we come from Bolivia, the Mancos nation. We want to thank you for the single objective of being here. We want to defend the Amazon in the 9 countries, because without a forest, there is no water, and without water, there is no life. This is the main objective that we have to make known to the world in this forum, because we, the indigenous people, are really being shut up, and this nature is the one that's being shut up by the extractivists. Hooray for the Amazon. Can't you hear me? Hooray for the Amazon. Good morning, brothers and sisters. A great greeting from Chiquitania. Let this meeting be of unity, much strength to save the Amazon. Thank you. On behalf of the platform of coordination of the Preposta for Bolivia, we want to greet every one of you. We want also to thank God, because we're here. We have reached this place safe and sound. We've traveled a lot to be here, and we know that everybody that's here is here to contribute and work for the defense of Mother Earth. This space is very important for us. We're here, and each one of us, I believe, have to contribute and work to and pick up work to take to our homes. I would like to thank all the sponsors, and I want to thank the group of Bolivia where the Bolivians are, Bolivians who still resist the extractivist policies that exist in our countries. Thank you very much.
Hermanos, con permiso de todos ustedes, mi nombre es Jaime.
Brothers and sisters, I ask for permission. My name is Jaime Corisita. I come from the Guarango people in the south of the Amazon. To close, I would like us to hold our hands, and I will try to connect with the sacred sites that our culture has. The rocks, the Torago, the manga. Please, I'm going to ask that all those who are here illuminate us and strengthen us and gives us knowledge to continue struggling in our territory for the Amazon. Indigenous language.
Guru no ponamon machimoyanka no poseken keste. Wandat medicina, arak but medicina. Wama no kaeri, wama chino keri, arak but wandari, wama chino keri. Heya, heya, heya. Wandat medicina, oret medicina, ella, 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 ella. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank everybody who participated now. Now, our first block of talks, and to talk about the Amazon, I would like to invite Rodrigo Famun from Brazil, the Joint Secretary of the Ecclesiastical Network for the Amazon, REPTA. He has a very big campaign this year, the Vote for the Amazon. I would like to thank everybody for having opened their hearts for the sweet words in this first cycle of opening, and we continue in the space of the Second World Assembly for the Amazon. Now we will continue with the program, and I'd like to leave it to our colleague, Janaina.
Olá, bom dia a todos e todas. Buenos días a los hermanos hispanohablantes. Les pido permiso para hablar en portugués.
So I ask you to speak in Portuguese. It is a challenge to begin speaking in this second block space, the first space of the second block. We've had strong pronunciations of our colleagues who made their talks. On behalf of the Pan-Amazonic World Network, I would like to thank everybody for being in this space, a space in which we reaffirm our struggles and we meet again our campaigns, our colleagues that are in the Amazon, to cultivate our common house, our territory, the territory we live in. So I'd like to point out that REPAM is in all Pan-Amazonic countries, 9 territories with some kind of articulation. And our first mission is to be to the service of Amazon populations. If I can define a network today, I would define it as a network to the service of the Amazon and their people. Main demands that are coming out of this territory, and I think you know about this, about the problems that all the Pan-Amazonic people face, reinforce our responsibility as a network that comes from a religious organization, which is the Catholic Church, and that puts itself available to dialogue with different organizations that are also in the territory in order to defend life. We recently have gone through inside the church a synod summoned by Pope Francis that is also a defender of this cause and very near everything that happens, and that involved the whole of the Catholic Church to look into this space.
De internacionalização da Amazônia, de colocar os interesses.
So there should be no intervention in the Amazon or to put the interests of the Amazon to the looks of all the other countries in the world, but looking at it as a biome that is responsible for regulating, that is in charge of regulating the climate in the whole world. So the riverside people and the quilombolas that are much ahead of us with this awareness, and we should learn with them. And the indigenous people, of course. And in this synod, more than 80,000 people were heard in the whole of the Pan-Amazonic region. Different ethnic groups, different populations, who gave contributions and talking about their territories. And we heard them and proposed situations and reinforced our alliance with all. We are now organized as 6 countries as an organization, and they are here. We have representatives from Brazil, from Peru, from Ecuador, Bolivia, Colombia, and then Guyana is also participating in this moment because we consider these spaces to be very important. I would like to point out that our organization in thematic groups, I would like to point out the 2 themes that we've worked on recently without leaving aside other themes, but to reinforce human rights and international incidents. This day, our region suffers from inhuman rights and nature rights. So the populations that are in this territory daily suffer from these threats. Women, youngsters, riverside living people, and quilombolas and other traditional populations. So the defense of human rights of the Amazon population is what moves REPLAN, what moves our network to be part of all this movement of all of you who are present here. So we see this action of ours is extremely necessary, and we acknowledge that this is our mission. To give you an example, today is the closure of a great moment, a great formation of training of our school, the Human Rights School in Manaus, where we had 26 leaderships of Pan-Amazonic peoples who present concrete facts of violation in the territories. It was 4 weeks reflecting upon these cases, having some kind of training. In several cases with their invasion of territories, indigenous territories, and developers, sexual exploitation and traffic of people, especially in the frontier regions, the violation of women's rights, one of the big themes also put, and so many other themes that have attacked our territory. These cases were presented, and the modules for training have a mission now to produce a Pan-Amazonic report with all the documentation and systematization of these cases to give to international incidents platforms. So we never want to talk for them, but talk with them. And this work cannot be done alone. It's a network work that deserves a network to be talked about. As Pan-Amazonic Ecclesiastical Network, we value these spaces, regional spaces in the Pan-Amazon, because these are spaces that reinforce our struggle and our mission to be beside this population, at the side of this population, without without leaving aside the specificities of each one and taking into consideration all the different situations in all Amazonic countries, but living Pan-Amazonic region as a region that has its importance for the world and that has an importance especially for us who live in it, and also for those who are outside the Amazonic territory. So I'd like to take advantage of this space and our colleagues from RIPAN and also all the organizations that are part to reaffirm our commitment to contribute to this space of AMA, FOSPA, and the other Pan-Amazonic spaces. I wish we all have very good days in the 10th FOSPA, and let's take advantage of this moment to reaffirm our struggle and our dialogues and our articulations, always reminding ourselves that we have much struggle ahead, but we're not alone. Thank you, and a good event to all.
Muchas gracias a Rodrigo, que me faltó mencionarlo en castellano, que viene de parte de la REPAM.
Thank you, Rodrigo. He comes from REPAM. Thank you again, Rodrigo. It's good that REPAM be here today and all representations for the Pan-Amazonic region. Before continuing, I'd like to remind you that if you want to follow the assembly in Portuguese or in Spanish, we have simultaneous translation. All you have to do is to come out to the entrance and pick up a headphone and a small receiver in order to hear this conference in your own language. Here in this space, we are hearing the voices of the Pan-Amazonic, and on behalf of Peru, we will invite Denise Chavez. A clap. Please applaud her. We are water. We are resistance. We are a dream that sings. We are the Amazon. Denise is coming. Welcome, Denise. Very much. Thank you very much. Today is a very special day for us. After so much virtuality, to look at each other, to hug and to smile is the most beautiful thing that has happened this morning. To look at us and to see everybody directly is very important for me, because we want to be moving again. Again, we want to come from different organizations, taking our voice to every moment of our meetings. We know that in Latin America, and we're going through very serious situations, our countries at this time have a responsibility over what happens in the Amazon. The deliveries of our territories on the part of the states have become permanent. Every day we see how states, through their constitutions, their laws, make our territories as gifts to companies without taking care of the existence of the indigenous people who live in this Amazon. This is a situation that more and more we can see in our countries. I also think that now we are having to face other threats: narco trafficking, illegal mining, and the presence of transnationals, and the presence of these organizations, illegal organizations, that do not permit the indigenous people to continue defending their rights. That's why we have more and more the presence of defenders of the environment that are being murdered, brutally murdered by these illegal organizations that want to take property of the territories, and that our states have a lot of fault because they don't put a stop to this. Much to the contrary, they do not, they look to, they don't look at these situations. That's the situation of Peru. Peru apparently did not have assassinations of defenders of the Amazon, but now we have a list where these assassinations are featured, and it is very deplorable that this grows, and we cannot permit this to happen in our Amazon countries. On the other hand, we have another situation that becomes more and more aggravating, which is violence against the women, sexual violence, domestic violence, and violence that is threatening our women in our communities. It becomes bigger and bigger. The transnational companies that occupy our territories, which in this situation generate violation of their bodies and their life.
El tema de toda nuestra cultura.
The ancestors and our culture is losing itself by the illicit acts of these companies that become proprietors of our territories. We have been struggling against these situations. One of the most important things that happened is that in the month of June, we've made the pre-FOSPA, and in this pre-FOSPA, we were able to get a declaration, to make up a declaration. And in this declaration, we are demanding states to put a stop in this situation of oppression affecting our territories. One of the themes that we've raised in this letter, and I think it's very important that I share it with you, is that we refuse to accept the neoliberal extractivist model that is colonial and patriarchal, that promotes climatic crisis and violates the rights of individuals, women, and our spirituality. We refuse to accept the economic fundamentalism and religious fundamentalism that do not recognize other forms of understanding the world, and also accept corruption installed in every level of the governments. We refuse to accept the cultural violation of the territories and the food crisis which the neoliberal imposes through the state, that threatens life, threatens the communities and the indigenous people. We refuse to accept a market view of life and against our women who violating their rights and their freedom. We're a direct target of the attacks from companies. We are partners in eco-solidarity facing the climate crisis caused by the predating capitalistic consumerism. So we want to strengthen processes of recognition of the territory and the autonomy as an expression of our identification of our territories and free self-determination of our peoples, and self-government that are being contributed with by the Amazon indigenous peoples. Thank you very much. Thank you, Denise. I'd like to thank again for the participation of LePan here. They have a very important campaign. I vote for the Amazon is the name of the campaign. And I have an announcement. We are looking for Lolita Piaguaje and Janela Sanchez, who are waiting outside for the press. There is a press round waiting for them. I want to invite Arguera, who's going to be talking about the Amazon in Brazil. Irma Arguera. And once again, we are looking for Juanita Piagoje and Janela Sanchez for the press release outside the auditorium. Good morning. It is an enormous pleasure to be here and be able to talk the situation of the Amazon. Even though it is not a good situation, it's always good to dialogue and to talk at this time for struggle and reflection. I've put 6 points that I found to be very important to show a little the situation. Firstly, I'd like to say that the model for social environmental movement was strengthened from ECO 92 and is established in 90% of the Amazon territory by the populations who were always left aside by science, public policies, fiscal incentives, and the strengthening of their traditional economies. Nowadays, this model is being threatened more than ever. We are at a moment where we have the imminence of climate disasters, environmental disasters also, and threatens to food security. And the biological richness of the Amazon is strategic for the 21st century, and the traditional peoples of this region have an important role to put up, not only in the understanding, but the viability for the future of this country, of this region. And they have to be respected in their territorial rights that should be supported by inclusive political policies, public policies, that include environmental concerns. The main drives of change in this region as associated to environmental change are related with the change in land use and climate changes. The first one, use of land use, means deforestation. And it's also related to the issue of extractivism of wood, mostly illegal, mining in indigenous lands and public lands. The drive for public climate change, which is very complex, involves the possibility of death, progressive death of the forest. Scientific studies show that in 2050, we will have lost at least 50% of species of trees in the Amazon in a scenario without governance and with intense climate change. Deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon reaches 13,000 square kilometers. And according to INPE, if nothing is done, and nothing is being done by the present government, we will reach 15,000 square kilometers of the Brazilian Amazon forest. The deforestation brings changes in the hydrologic cycle of the region, changing rains, levels of rivers. The invasion of land also warms up the market for land and is part of the process of deforestation. And there are at least is responsible 15% of deforestation. So forest fires in a humid forest that suffers with droughts are also associated to land invasion. And this land invasion happens also in indigenous lands. The discourse of the Brazilian government about the new destiny, the new fate of the Amazon forest made a race for public lands, made up for a race in public lands. And on one hand, we have a predatory extractivistic model. There was a disassembling of protection organs of the government, and there was a reduction of participation of civil society in organs such as the National Council for the Environment, CONAMA, where I participated as a representative of the Brazilian Society for the Practice of Science, and also other important democratic institutions. Besides that, the legislative power tends to approve very easily the project for flexibilization of diligence of laws, the legal framework for the Amazon. It is a horror circus bringing
Aqui a importância
environmental problems.
das áreas protegidas, que representam quase 50% da Amazônia.
Indigenous land that represent 50% of the Amazon can be the reservoir, the last stand, oldest ethnic
da biodiversidade e para a manutenção dos serviços ecossistêmicos. Então, a garantia dos territórios tradicionais é fundamental para a manutenção das funções ecológicas do bioma e
and all these things are fundamental for the maintenance of the biome and their development. We have to stop the exploitation of lands that increase the borderline of agribusiness for the effective protection of these areas, with the support of traditional communities and with the punishment of environmental crimes. But there are no projects that function here in the Amazon. The fifth aspect is that in the Amazon, there are the worst social indicators in Brazil, where violence becomes totally spread. Population has the least levels of poverty and with the lowest objectives of sustainable development. Of the worst cities with the least rate of human development are in the Amazon. We have to point out to a crisis where more than 13 million Amazonian people are in the worst social and health conditions. Rodrigo talked about the issues of safety and security and the assassination of Bruno and Don Phillips in the Javari Valley showed that there was a renouncement on the public power to impose law in the Amazon, and the Amazon is delivered to organized crime. And the result of this is violence, abuse, and threats against indigenous people. The symbiosis between organized crime and the government is obvious. The federal police in their operations between 2016 and 2021 showed that environmental crime stimulates the destruction of the forest and feeds a chain of illegitimacies that extends to fraud, homicides, and commerce of weapons, drugs, wild animals, etc. It is important that the new president has an agenda for the Amazon, without which any Amazon development will not be successful. We do not want a new bioeconomy coming from outside the country. And I would like to say that this bioeconomic plan is intensive in investments and with highly qualified work. But the Amazon cannot assume a development model such as this with a base in technology without looking at its vulnerability, covering for several cycles of retardment of its development. My studies on the forest show that the life capacity of the original people can sustain the forest, but this is usually threatened when economic interests advance on the territories. And what has concerned us is how the changes in the management of species and the environmental degradation with intense fires in forests that are associated to the condition of the forests are diminishing the resilience of the system and harming the traditional bioeconomies. We cannot forget that the use of land of the territories by original population are ensuring the important conditions for any project to avoid the end of the world, as Isaac Krenak says. We have two ways to follow.
De uma economia exógena em que perdemos florestas, biodiversidade, cenário de uma perda de mais de 50% das espécies de árvores até 2050 cenário
up to 2050 in a scenario without connection. And the other path is mining and illegitimate predatory activities. The other is the path of sustainability associated to a sustainable way of management of the forest that has to be very well delineated based in strong science that requires a change in education of science on the Amazon and also requires the participation of traditional populations directly related to this proposal. One important aspect is that there is no scenario of 1.5 degrees Celsius in the world without the Amazon. The region has to be strengthened in the sustainable development model. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank you for your presence here to remind us of such important points. We want to remind you that the rates of sustainable development in the Amazon will be discussed in an activity that will happen here in the forum on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. For those who are here in the auditorium, those who are looking at us virtually, for life, for happiness, for rebelliousness, let's defend the Amazon. Let's repeat it. For life, for happiness, for rebelliousness, let's defend the Amazon. Thank you all. We continue to hear the voices of our great Pan-Amazonic region in different territories. So now we'll hear from Colombia, a dear friend whom we've seen in the initiation of this event. Voices of women that create, that dream, and the protected territory have been heard this morning. Let's remind ourselves that we have 5 minutes for each representation. Only 5 minutes, please. Again, I brotherly greet our traditional communities, and with the permission of our ancestors, we would like to put here some ideas for the reflection and for action. First, the originary people of the countries that have the privilege of enjoying the gift of the Amazon forest. We are the ancestral, millenary proprietors of this territory. And to reach peace, which is one of the purposes, not only of Colombia, but also the planets, the humanities, if that is to become concrete in the territories, we should begin to reconcile with Mother Earth. And that reconciliation with Mother Earth should begin with the change in the capitalist economic model, which has imposed itself in a violent way in the territories, and that nowadays destroy the Amazon as it is a sacred being, a sacred site for humanity. And that's where life is born. We are here because it is our task to change
Ya la pandemia nos ha
the
demostrado
educational model of the planet. The pandemic has put a break to us, telling us that we should change because we are going towards destruction. The educational model is fundamental, and it should be a planetary educational model that teaches us to fall in love with the earth, to respect Mother Earth, and to respect ourselves, each other, and to respect our forms of life. So we also should analyze all this framework of public policies, as they call it, because the environmental policies, both national and international, has become supported upon a false ideology, a false promise, a false idea, where it says that those who contaminate should pay, and those who have money should contaminate anything it wants, he or she wants. And they continue selling us the cycles of life, buying and selling carbon bonuses in the framework of colonization that puts a price to everything. But it isn't a real price because money is a real. Money notes are paper only, but our clean water, our forest, our oxygen are much more powerful. We are multimillionaires, those who live in that place that is so privileged on Earth. That's something important. Petroleum companies and mining companies will not take us. We are going to take them out of their stupidity so that they start to enjoy life themselves. The Earth has an air conditioning system that's called the Amazon. Without that air conditioning system, without that biotic pump, life on Earth is different. This climate change is demonstrating to us via the pandemic and via sicknesses. All this climate imbalance is being suffered by human beings. And if humanity doesn't understand of that relationship, then it's all closed. We are kept apart. And if we do not understand that, then we have a big problem. The president of Colombia, in his inauguration speech, talked about Latin American unity. And there we are, the Colombians, who are part of his campaigns in order to have that be attained. This proposal, I believe, we can make it for many of us who have worked here, be able to make it become solid. We, the organizations, have an enormous power, and this power is the one that should be continued to be exercised. We, the people in the Amazon, are different from the rest of the world. And as citizens of the Amazon, we are part of organizations that defend this Amazon region. Besides, we are being implemented, we are being sent towards an energetic transition. And that should be reviewed because that energetic transition, as promoted by multinational companies and the government powers, is an energetic transition so that the model continues to be alive. It is to change hydrocarbons for mining, because that comes very strongly from mining and from several elements that are necessary for the batteries and energy conductors. So this energetic transition should be an issue that is in the agenda for discussion of everybody. And the proposals should come from the organizations. Energetic transition for the Amazon should be very different from the energetic transition as it happens in a big city. So we are there to work for all these initiatives. Thank you very much. We thank Mercedes Mejia, Mary Punches, and all the people who have talked on behalf of the territories in the Second Assembly for the Amazon. I'll leave you for some instructions as to translations. For those who picked up the simultaneous interpretation apparatuses, don't forget to pick back your documents and deliver their their passports, and we'll be able to leave Brazil. So remember to give back the apparatus and take your documents. Janaina is going to introduce who's going to speak and coming from where. From Bolivia, I'd like to invite Irma Mendoza. For those who are following us virtually, we have simultaneous translation via Zoom. All you have to do is select the globe on the lower part of the screen and choose the idiom you want to be hearing this. Welcome, Vilma. I remind you that you have only 5 minutes. Thank you. First, I'd like to greet all of you who are here participating. I'm Vilma Mendoza Miro. I come from the Mozapain Nation in Bolivia. We have 36 nations recognized. I'm president of the National Confederation of Indigenous Women in Bolivia that agglutinates 34 nations in Oriente, Chaco, and Amazonia. And we live in collective territories. But at the same time, we're here to make our proposals known, and on behalf of the Articulation for Institutions and Organizations with the territorial base in Bolivia, which take ahead from the 1st to the 13th of June, our pre-FOSPA. And with that, we've come to establishing 10 demand points, but also we've asked that you adhere to our letter for the presentation. Once I come back from Belém do Pará here, to present a letter to our President Alce Catacora in Bolivia. Now, we will make our established points in Bolivia. One is to break deforestation and illegal fires in the forest in Bolivia. From 2016 to 2020, we've had 1.3 million of nature that's been put at fire and lost. And we demand really effective actions to control and punish those who are guilty, whether they be companies, and also the public policies of states that are being implemented in those spaces to break the systematic ecocide that is coming. The second point, we want to evaluate the environmental impact that comes from the production of agri-fuels and the beef for exporting to China. Here we have a demonstration of the agribusiness frontiers, and that has to be with the public policy, has to do with the public policies that permit this, whether it's the cultivation of transgenic products for export. Third, we want to break the exporting of products that destroy the Amazon. Here we want to regulate the exports that are based in deforestation and the contamination of the Amazon, such as soy, beef, and gold, which, according to public policies nowadays, is increasing not only in collected territories, but the rivers of Bolivia, and also in the protected areas that are the common assets of all Bolivians. So we, as an articulation, believe that we should regulate exports. First, here we point out to ensuring food sovereignty without transgenic or agrochemicals that generate dependence on multinational or to the multinationals and destroy our native seeds. So the state should ensure this sovereignty and food security, but not implementing transgenic, but strengthening and implementing traditional practices that we've been working, the indigenous people have been working, which the pandemic made to discover that the policies that we, the indigenous people, have in this issue are really adequate for the environment, for nature, and is a friend of the environment. Fifth, to free our rivers from extractivists, mining extractivism. Our rivers are dying, our fish are dying, contaminated by mercury because of this gold fever. Here, we are not permitting the safe feeding within the territories because the fish are contaminated by mercury. So many indigenous people in Bolivia, where we come from, our rivers have lately been contaminated, and not only the food by the fish, but also because of the water, because many of us live at the riversides and consume river water. And nowadays we find rivers that are not clear water, but now because of the draining of rivers, we have brown water in the rivers. So lastly, there have been research in which children are being contaminated with mercury in their hair. So that is very concerning for us. 6, we want to abrogate the law that permits the construction of the Tipnis Road. This is a case that has not been supported by justice that are demanded by nations in Bolivia. We should remind you, maybe you know about the Chaparina case, in which in the government of Evo Morales in 2011, there was a march demanding the respect and the livelihood with nature was blocked in their rights, and we still don't have that justice, and we demand that justice that should advance. 7, say no to hydroelectric plants in the Amazon basin. We do not want projects that destroy the biodiversity in our territories and replace or relocate communities, as has happened in different territories where there is a total conflict among us. And this is precisely what we do not want to continue existing. 8, to break the submitting of indigenous territories, submission of indigenous territories, and to accelerate the process for indigenous autonomy. It's been 10 years that we have only 3 territories that have gained autonomy, but this autonomy isn't exercised with their own norms. So there is no Amazon without indigenous people, and there is no Amazon without indigenous people, and there's no indigenous people without the Amazon. So to make effective the rights of nature, Bolivia has acknowledged the rights of Mother Earth, but in the practice does not respect it and harms those who defend it. Presently, we're going back in these issue of rights because there is total attack to rights that are not being recognized. And we have 10. We have to implement indigenous and farming alternatives to generate alternative policies to strengthen our initiatives that we have among the indigenous people, and that have to have public policies and participation to effectivize these public policies so that there is real food sovereignty. And we are very much concerned, and we want to make this known in this room about these points that we've worked in Bolivia with everybody who's here present. Thank you to all who have heard us, and we're here to put in action and make a good incidence according to our conclusions. Thank you, Vilma, and the 10 points that they built collectively, which doesn't work only for Bolivia, but the whole of Pan-Amazon. We continue with this journey in the Amazon basin, and through the voices we will hear a great friend, Adriana Huitrago, that comes from Venezuela. And we have then the last part and the conclusion of this first morning block. Adriana, we invite you. Liliana is an activist of the Political Ecology Observatory of Venezuela. Good to have you here. Good morning, greeting all of you. From the north of this part of the continent, Venezuela, we, having a dialogue with several organizations, colleagues in territories, have been making visible some problems, but also an important dispute about the Amazon in Venezuela that is being felt in the Amazon as a whole. One of them have to do with the mandate of exploitation and invasion and making it become a merchandise for the Amazon. Coming from a country that is profoundly extractivist, we have, at the time of crisis, blockings and blockages, as if that would be a safeguard in order to exploit the territories. And these territories of the Amazon in Venezuela are seen as conquering territories to be conquered due to the crisis, the civilizatory crisis in Venezuela. With nature and the territories, we have to stop with developmentism in Venezuela that has us put into a slavery to produce raw materials to the usual empires, but the new intentions, imperialistic intentions around the world. And with this also, we want to make visible that even though the Venezuelan Amazon is always out of pace as to what happens in the rest of the Pan-Amazonic because of its circumstances. When there's fire in Brazil, there is abundant rain in Venezuela. It's always out of pace, but it also suffers strong deforestation, which increases every year. And we want to reivindicate the work of Tanima and other organizations such as ULA, REPAM, OICA, and those who configure the World Assembly for the Amazon that always accuse public policies as to what happens. Those who have defended the forms of life of these territories in Venezuela are confronted nowadays with the advancement, as was denounced by our colleagues from Peru and other territories, of some forms of violence that are heteropatriarchal and racist that are repeated in our territories in Venezuela. Also, we have a lesser incidence in the media and very much invisibilized by the polarizing policies of Venezuela. There is a list of defenders such as Virgilio Trujillo, who's recently assassinated, and a list of the environmental defenders who are being attacked and assassinated. This is very little visibilized and viewed in Venezuela by the media. And these organizations are losing their little contributions that they make. The decree of the mining arch is a death decree. And there is the participation of North American companies that hasn't been developed in its totality, but have used economies and local mafias to develop this imagination of territorial conquest that leads to the death of our territories. At the south of Orinoco River, we have 80% of our forests that are being very much affected. Illegal mining. That's what we call the garimpeiros in Venezuela. Unfortunately, has been institutionalized instead of disappearing. And this leads this logic to go to other territories outside the south of Venezuela. There is, say, a goldification of life that has to do with logics that we have also seen in other Venezuelan regions. It wasn't a mining country as has been the bad destination of several economies of our region, but nevertheless, nowadays, it seems that developmentist has brought Venezuela into being a very mining company, very mining country, sorry. And there is a collapse in the Amazon, and we have to understand these crises through which we go, which go through precisely to be able to understand that we are the Amazon, that the Amazon is part, a fundamental part of the possibility of survival over all crises. We want to reivindicate, we want to acknowledge the claims of the invisible work of organizations and to strengthen the legal frameworks in which their works happen or should happen. These are living territories. They're not empty territories where our brothers and sisters, around 24 indigenous peoples who live in the Venezuelan Amazon, who are working for the care of all. And as was said by the speeches that opened this assembly today, I think that many people couldn't be here during the World Assembly for the Amazon. And there are other colleagues who are working effectively in the struggle for making these problems visible that are very common. Let's stop the mandate for conquest that promotes epistemicide, feminist side. Not the states are responsible for ecocide also, and trans micide also. So that's called earthicide. This mandate should be stopped. No to the mining arch that is expanding in Venezuelan Amazon. We are freedom, we are justice and dignity, we are Amazon. So we thought we had finished. No, there is Ecuador now. I'll give the floor to Janaina, who will present this. I would like to invite Lolita Piaguaje to participate for Ecuador. Lolita, please come over here. Indigenous language. Very good morning to all. I come from Ecuador to share with you, and I'd like to greet the Ecuadorian Amazon. There is life for us. It is life for all human and non-human beings. For us, the peoples and nations that live in the Amazon region, it is important to have the Amazon. I come from an equatorial Amazon where there is much petroleum and mining. And for us, mining and petroleum, for us, is a threat. We, the people who live there, are very much concerned, and we live where there is much impact, both for the rivers, where the contamination is very serious, and also the water that we consume is contaminated, and the fish too. Nature now is on alert. It is on a total crisis, I would say, because for us, before that, the Amazon used to be one of the wealth, one of the riches that we had. Nature was clean, no contamination, but now we are very much on alert. The little that we have wants to be conserved, no to contamination. There are the rights of nature, but what have we done as peoples who represent the nationalities of the Amazon region? The state does not hear us. They are deaf and do not ensure our rights to the people, to us, the people who live in the Amazon, in the forests, and they also do not respect the rights of nature. When we see this instability and this social inequity, we as people and nations of Ecuador have got together, and we mobilized ourselves in order for our voices to be heard through mobilization. We as Ecuador, all the people, have become united, and we said, here we stop. We made 18 days with manifestations and mobilization at the national level. The Amazon region was present there. We were certainly there to fight for the rights of nature and for the defense of the people who live there in our rights. So we participated there. We, children, youngsters, leaders, men, women, defenders, as guardians of the forests, we were there. Why were we there? It was to fight for the defense of our territories. to tell the government that they hear us. We don't want any more oil or mining because that harms us. And one of the points that was most important that we reached in that March was the annulment of Decree 95, where they wanted to expand for more petroleum. So we also had the annulment of Law 151 to be reviewed. So now we are reviewing all the documents and we are at the desks for dialogue. So we want to invite you all to say that the only salvation is to struggle and to defend our forests. It is life for everyone, for all the people who live at the world level. Thank you. Hello, my name is Natalia Green, and I'm Vice President of SEDEM in Ecuador, and I would like to introduce that we had in Ecuador a pre-FOSPA with more than 20 organizations. We signed a letter, and we're making the official delivery of that letter to the Assembly of the Amazon and to FOSPA in general. It is a letter in which the representatives of the civil society that signed the letter raised their voices for the Ecuadorian Amazon and demand the following of their rights, protection of as guardians of the nature. And in this letter, we talk about what's happening in Ecuador, what's happening with mining, with oil, with the present government, and we point out that there is an issue with juridical insecurity. And they say that companies are affected, yes, but it affects the populations, and we are putting forth what has happened in Ecuador, including since the last FOSPA here, regarding the violations of the oil spills, contamination, and the existence of mining, including during COVID. And what it has brought to our territories. We make a denunciation as to what has happened to us since the last FOSPA, and we make a presentation of several campaigns that exist in Ecuador to promote a world that is different, a different way of life. We are now in FOSPA, representing the walk of delegation of the Tribunal for Rights of Nature that has an Ecuadorian member with a judge, Blanquita Chantosa, who will present the result of the International Court, and also to promote the configuration of the front, the parliamentary front for the rights of nature. In this letter, we present all the negotiations and we demand the follow-up of all these rights, and we demand that the voice of Ecuador be heard in these forums, because due to time, we will only be able to post this letter in the networks of FOSPA and the participation of Ecuador. Thank you, Lolita, and thank you to the delegation representing our beautiful country. Thank you, Lolita, Nachi. It's good for having you. Thank you for being here with us and to talk about the world situation and the multiple crises that are being faced by the Amazon. I'd like to invite Luis Marquez, our colleague in the Collective 660, professor at UNICAMP, University of Campinas, Brazil. Luis, please. Good morning. It is a great satisfaction to be here today. I was asked to talk about the global issue, the idea of at what measure there's a relationship between the Amazon and the global situation. There is a war against the Amazon nowadays, and this is a very important war, bearing impacts that are of the greater level, is more crucial than any war that is happening nowadays in the world, including the Ukrainian war. And that is very easy to understand. Why? It's easy to understand because the Amazon is a critical element for the Earth system. Any fate of the Earth system of this planet and its inhabitants depend at great scale of the destiny of the Amazon. And we know, and Everybody who talked before me said so. They've underlined the critical situation that historically has never been as critical as this. Just for you to have an idea of what's happening in Brazil between 2019 and 2021, there was the deforestation by suppression of the forest, more than 34,000 square kilometers. Just for you to have an idea of the extension of this, anybody who knows the geography of Brazil, it's much bigger than the area of the state of Alagoas. The area of the state of Alagoas is 24,000 square kilometers, and we've suppressed in 10 years, no, from 2019 to 2022, and in 2023 there will be even more devastation. So it's an absolutely critical situation, and Amazon is totally inserted into the international level. It is inserted in the international level through the production of oil, therefore the energetic system, but above it all, it is inserted in the globalized feeding or food system. The Amazon nowadays has an almost impossible to believe number. Almost 70 million head of beef is in the legal Amazon of Brazil, 4 times over the human population in the country. So we, Brazil, the agro industry of Brazil, not us, the agro industry is responsible for 20% of the exporting of beef in the world, Brazilian beef. But if we think of what soya means, because soybeans, 80% of the soybeans become feed for animals and goes to China, to Europe, to feed pigs, to feed chicken and aquatic fish farms. So if we look at the Amazon nowadays, it is a center, a hub of the world food system. And we have to take out the Amazon of that structure, of that gearbox. We have to take the Amazon of the energetic global system. We have to take the Amazon out of the global food system and the global agrochemical system, and also global mining. What does that mean? We have to admit the Amazon as a sanctuary of biosphere of this planet. You see, in the beginning of the 21st century, scientists defined 17 countries that are called mega diverse countries from the biological point of view. 5 of these countries belong in the Amazon. So the center of biodiversity in the world is here. So we have to understand that since we are not capable of living without biodiversity, we have to understand that the Amazon is in the center of the planet. The rest of the planet is a periphery in terms of, in biological terms. Not only the Amazon, other tropical forests, but the Amazon represents more than 50% of the world's forests. So if the Amazon forest is not preserved, we have a clear perception that there is no place for the vertebrate species of the planet. Maybe some species, invertebrate, monocellular species will live, yes, but we are not going to live without the Amazon. So it is fundamental that we understand that there is only one chance for us to survive, and that chance is right here. There is only one antidote against despair, and that antidote is here. It is in the fact that the Amazonic populations assume the control of their fate. It is necessary that they go from resistance to counteroffensive and to be organized so that we can repel from the Amazon territories the 600,000 kilometers of planted pasture land in the Amazon and give it back. Am I talking about the Brazilian Amazon? To the bioma, to their peoples, to what is rightful for the Amazon. So I'm very happy and very emotive, in fact, to see that, as everybody here, that there is an awareness building, a radical one, based on the fact that all these gradualistic policies that have happened since 1992 are not capable to stop this process. It is necessary for us to take in hand these processes and formulate the policies that are necessary, as the colleague from Bolivia formulated here in 10 points, as to what is necessary that we do. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Luis. And to close this first block, we will have a song by Iremar. And while he gets prepared, we will hear Adriano Caripuna from Porto Velho, state of Rondônia, Brazil. Let's fill ourselves up with much energy, much singing that come from the Brazilian Amazon. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning, my relatives. I am Adriano Caripuna. I'm from Porto Velho, Rondônia state in Brazil, and I come to express here what's happening to indigenous people in Brazil, Amazonia, Cerrado, Caatinga. The indigenous people have recently been suffering a lot with a project, a genocide project that attacks our rights, deforesting our forest. The Caripuna indigenous territory localized in Rondônia is one of the most threatened, and our people are also threatened with death through this criminal project, which is anti-indigenous, that liberate. It's 191 project, liberating from mining. And that's why I've come here with a temporal framework for territoriality for indigenous people. I tell you that the indigenous people is the only hope for a better world, so that there isn't a climatic unbalance. So I ask you all to make a boycott of Brazilian products, because many times this Brazilian product, like soybeans or beef and other transnational companies that are devastating our forests, come from a massacre against the indigenous peoples, also threatening isolated people. I don't use the word indigenous, because indigenous is also a colonizing word. As a representative of my people who made numerous denunciations in several countries. One of the first pronouncements that I made in 2018 in New York, denouncing the Brazilian state that is what it's doing, as to what it's doing to our territory and our indigenous people. Not one right less to the indigenous people. The Brazilian government prioritized deforestation in indigenous lands. It did not prioritize the healing, as was said, or public health, did not prioritize that. During the pandemic in my state, there was a law that extinguished 300,000 forest reservations, hectares. And another project that is talking about dealing with the massacre of the indigenous people. Is it a massacre? Yes, it is, because when you contaminate rivers and you devastate forests, you kill indigenous people. We, the indigenous people of the Amazon, are the only possible way for the climate imbalance does not happen. I have much more to talk about, but for the time being, this is what it is. Out with Bolsonaro. Without the Amazon, there is no rain. Without rain, there is no water. Without water, there is no food. And without food, there isn't anything. Without water, there is no light, there is no agro, there is no apopy. Without water, there is no population. Let's erase the blackout of awareness. Let's erase the awareness blackout, the inconsequent blackout. Without water, there is no life. Without life, there is no industrialization. Without the Amazon, there is no forest. Without the Amazon, there is no conservation. Without the Amazon, there is no cerrado. And without cerrado, there is no distribution. It is the death of the biomass. It is desertification. Let's erase the awareness blackout. Let's erase the blackout of inconsequence. You cannot wait for 2030 to promote transformation. We have to learn from originary people and operate this revolution. You cannot wait for 2030 to operate a transformation. We have to learn with the originary peoples and reforest the minds to make a revolution. Let's erase the awareness blackout and the inconsequence blackout. Let's erase the blackout for inconsequence and awareness. Hooray for the Amazon. Hooray for the Amazon. Free country, we shall win. Well, to close, we will have the FOSPA song afterwards.
Amazônia encantada.
Enchanted Amazon. Enchanted Amazon. Amazon of Macumbai. Enchanted Amazon. Two rivers of the forests. The fish that swim there, Pirarucu, Piraíba, Pirarara, Piau, and Piaba.
Não vamos deixar.
We cannot let out the enchantment of the Amazon. My thinking is to keep it enchanted without deforestation. Let's lower the price of gold so that it's not worth anything. I need air, I need clean water to drink. They insulted Xingu. They've killed the jungle of Ipadu. They've killed the forest of Ipadu. Clean water for you. Clean water for you. For you. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for all. Well, the Amazon is song, is rebelliousness, it's water that flows and that interweaves with our dreams. And to continue, we have the conclusions of this first block, and I thank everybody who is following us in the auditorium and virtually in any place of the Mother Earth, and that tells us to keep it as it maintains and takes care of us. Our great colleague, Luis Arnaldo, one of the members of FOSPA, gives us this welcome, and we're happy to be here with you. Can I speak in Portuguese? Good morning, my friends. Be very much welcome to Belém do Pará, the capital of resistance, the headquarters of the 10th Amazonian Forum. It was founded in 2002. This 10th edition of the forum has a historic importance in the west of the world, because this is the moment where Pan-Amazonic region is under merciless attack with clear genocide, ethnocide intentions, ecocide intentions that are clearly defined as an objective to be attained, not only as a result of the predatory model. No, now we are going through an increase of this crisis. It is not only a natural result, but also a political intention. And why this? Precisely because we're going through an advanced stage of capitalism. It is impossible for the capital to survive. And to think that an enormous asset represented by thousands of hectares, millions of hectares, full of products that they call products, but assets, natural assets, is in the hands of indigenous peoples, in the hands of riverside living people and Quilombola people, people who do not transform nature into merchandise, people who do not transform nature into value for the capital. This cannot happen. So we're going through a merciless struggle. But it is also true that never have we had such a strong and fighting resistance. In the case of Brazil, for example, the indigenous people have sustained in April a month of intense mobilizations in the capital, Brasilia, traveling and resisting in the capital of the country. We have fortified the resistance of the Quilombola people. The issue of the cities in the Amazon, the climate emergency, all this creates mobilization and a will to struggle and unite. So at this moment is that we have this forum. So I want to be very long in telling you why this forum is very important. We had a year in elaborating methods to come to this format. It is a house of knowledge. We had 5 houses. Common goods, the house of rights, house of self-government, house of resistance of women, also the house of Mother Earth. Besides that, we have great happenings here. that will be hosted here where we are in Benedito Nunes Auditorium. We will have the Tribunal of Rights for Nature, the Tribunal for Women. We have the Tribunal for Homage to Martyrs of the Amazon, and we will have exhibitions of long films starred by Ailton Krenak, indigenous thinker of Brazil. And on the last day, the 31st of July, we will have a great act against fascism and authoritarianism and ecocide. And today we have the march for opening in a while at 4 in the afternoon. It means that the 10th FOSPA is a political incident on one hand, and a political action of every one of us to put a stop in the advancement and to launch a scream saying that in the Amazon there is a decisive battle of humanity, because here is when we're going to decide whether the earth is continuing to turn around with life, with animals, plants, or will continue to go around your sun as a dead rock. This is the importance of this forum. This is the importance of this forum at this time. So we thank you for your presence here. Have a good forum. Thank you very much. Thank you, Luis Arnaldo. It is good that we got together in the 10th Social Forum for the Amazon. Continuing with the second block of our activity, we will discuss some of the things that are very pertinent for the Amazon today. We will be talking about the resistance for women, authoritarianism and violence of war, the defense of the defenders of the Amazon, the rights of the Amazon, the climate emergency, and the survival of Earth. I would like to invite Osver. Could you climb up here, please? Osver. Osver Polo is from the CC FOSPA Peru, and he will be talking about climate emergency in the Amazon. 3 minutes for you, Osver. Thank you, thank you. Good morning to all. I'd like to thank you for being in the second Assembly for the Amazon. We were in COP26 in the first assembly, and here there were several colleagues that were here. It is time to declare the Amazon in a climate emergency. We have to come out of here with very strong actions. Stop deforestation. Stop these extractive projects that continue to harm the territories, contaminating indigenous communities. We have to make an effort, and this will be part of the struggle that we will be working within the Mother Earth house that begins tomorrow. Also, there is an important activity. Tomorrow, we're going to be dealing with how to advance the struggle against the what harms the Amazon. It is good to think that part of the struggle is the solidarity that we have here with the brothers and sisters in the Amazon that are standing and fight and have to follow the process and to join forces with all the campaigns that are also defending the Amazon. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Osber. Y bueno, recordar las palabras.
Thank you, Fosber. And let's remind ourselves of the words that Osber and Alberto.
Vamos a desaparecer todas y todos, todas las formas de vida. Entonces, la madre tierra, a través de la
If we do not defend the Amazon, we will disappear. The Amazon is telling us, defend me. Let's defend it. And let's search for other people who talk to us about this. People who have the right to exist. And so we invite everybody to Amazonize. Please, Amazon yourself. Amazonize yourself and enjoy. And in the second block, in the second World Assembly for the Amazon in FOSPA, we invite Bernard Collier, Camacoli Mai, and Roberto Araújo, and Daniel de Souza, if they're here. Who of them are here? I don't know if they're coming.
Tenemos este momento, estamos esperando a ver
And this time,
cuatro personas.
we are waiting to see who is here.
Roberto Araujo y Nilde Souza. Voy a darle la palabra.
Near de Souza, too. I'll give the floor to Janaína. Is Cormac there?
Hello, everybody. My name is Cormac Cullinan. I'm an environmental lawyer from Cape Town in South Africa, and I'm also one of the judges of the International Rights of Nature Tribunal. So I became a rights of nature activist and a judge of the tribunal because I realized that we cannot solve the problems that we face with environmental law because the legal systems as a whole are part of the problem. Our legal systems, both internationally and nationally, regard everything that is not a human being, a corporation, or a state as an object, as an object that can have no rights. So from this perspective, the Amazon consists of natural resources which the governments of each of the countries of the Amazon can decide how to use. So the legal system is designed with the idea that nature, in this case the Amazon, must be exploited by people in the same way as slaves were exploited because they were defined as objects with no rights. But this is not the perspective of the International Rights of Nature Tribunal. We are here as part of a fact-finding delegation for a case which was started in Glasgow to hear violations of the rights of the Amazon as a living entity. Our perspective is, like yours, that this is not natural resources which different countries can decide how to use. The Amazon is a living being, and it is composed, it is a community of many other living beings. It is a community of communities, and each of these beings have rights. As Leonardo Boff has said, everything that has come into being, everything that exists has the right to be, the right to exist. And so when the tribunal decides its cases, it is guided both by the laws of nature and by the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth that was adopted in 2010 in Cochabamba by a conference of 35,000 people. Over the years, the tribunal has heard many cases concerning the Amazon, cases concerning with the Belamonte Dam, with mining in the Amazon, with the pollution of rivers in the Amazon, and cases concerning the defenders of the Amazon. So the role of the tribunal is now to bring together all of these cases and we will be making a finding later this week which will describe what we think needs to be done to restore the Amazon to health, including its people. Thank you.
Buenas tardes a todas, a todos.
Good morning to all. I want to greet you. My name is Vanessa Hotten, and I was a commissioned person to to write out the Constitution for nature, for original people who have never respected in our countries. And this generates obligations since 2008, according to the International Organization for Labor Organization. I am invited here to be part of an event which I want to invite you to also. We are configuring the parliamentary front for the rights of nature. And in this meeting, I have come to represent the eco-constituents of the parliamentary front, the constituents that were invited to join this ecocentric constitution that distributes power to the territories, deconcentrates the power in order to have regions that become autonomous. And today, we are making a signing out of this front, and I want to leave this invitation to the Capacit Auditorium at 2:00 in the afternoon, this afternoon. Authorities from the whole world have come here, especially from Latin America, because we understand that all the efforts against climate change and the extension of the cultures of our originary people and the impact on the women, minorities, and dissidences, who are the ones that are mostly impacted by this climate change in general, because of problems with nature, require global efforts, because it is an impact that is global. It's an impact on the world as a whole. So I invite you to add up to the efforts to approve this constitution. I know that you're going to vote in Chile, but you have to understand that this constitution that was made with much dedication of our personal time should be approved by the people in Chile. So the 4th of September is going to be a very, very important date to be able to advance in Latin America towards a new fundamental letter that recognizes, that acknowledges rights to Mother Earth, but also establishes obligations to the state and admits summa causa, good living principles for our north of our continent. So I invite you to be part, to feel part of this campaign for the approval of this constitution that is being boycotted by the owners of economic population of our country. 1% of the population that takes 50% of the internal product of the country. So economic resources are put forth in the communication means to make an acknowledgement for this constitution, and be very much attentive to what's going to happen on the 4th of September in Chile. Thank you, Vanessa. And Marichihueo, Marichihueo, 10 times we will overcome. Thank you, Vanessa. And to continue with that block, I invite Roberto Araujo, who's going to be talking about authoritarianism, violence, and war. He's from the Good Museum. Good morning to all. It is a pleasure to have been invited here and to be here with you. I will try to be very quick for a couple of minutes, especially about the issue of violence against the originary peoples and against the traditional peoples of the Amazon, in a very quick way. I'm here perhaps being repetitive. Many people have been talking about this. We know that the violent conquest of land to the detriment of traditional peoples have been a colonialistic characteristic since older times. But I'll tell you about something more recent. In the 80s, when I worked on the Trans-Amazonic Roadway, I went there to meet an INCRA manager, and I wanted to talk about people who lived 40 kilometers away from the road. But why do you want to see those forest people? Why do you want to see those people? Look at the people who are planting cocoa and raising those people just fish over there. They're not useful for us. Go look at the people who are just next to the roadway. But this mentality that existed in were there existed in colonial times. There is no sound. But they think that people who live in the Amazon are not capable of producing large scale merchandise. So he is useless. He should just be put at the disposal of workforce for the colonizing agent. This is something that has been passed over from one time to another since colonial times. And even then, since the 18th century, we have a farming category that is in the Amazon that produces practically everything that is being exported to Europe, but cannot make direct commerce with the metropolis. He only makes commerce through intermediaries. And these people who even during the rubber cycle is producing are the quilombolas, are those who pick up the indigenous activities. It is the Amazonian population that has always been invisible, and their economic contribution has always been invisible, and their presence in the territory is totally invisible. During the time of colonization, military colonization of the region, they were simply expelled as they are being expelled nowadays. And that expulsion, which somehow perpetuates the violent conquest of territories, should be pointed out in two aspects. One, the institutional aspect. So you see that the municipalities, the new municipalities in these borderline advancement of taking up lands, the municipalities that are formed is around illegal mining, illegal deforestation, and around great land proprietors who own also killers, murderers, paid murderers, who are put in public safety, public security. So the municipalities are born, the new municipalities are born with illegitimate outlaws who command the institutions, which perpetuates impunity and violence and impunity. So besides the reproduction of these new elites that have been there for 500 years, who now own banks and great financial conglomerates, we have a great possibility of social ascension through violence, which is exactly what is behind these big groups of agribusiness that also have these lobbies in the National Congress, the political control over the local political instance, and their great importance. So that points out to the great job that the human rights defenders have in those places. Since the 90s, with the creation of the National System of Conservation Units, with the influence of the ecologist perspective and ECO 92, and the definition of what is a traditional population, for the first time in the Amazon, this population that was genetically called farmers, quilombola, riverside dwellers, and neo-indigenous now, it starts to be visible and to have a voice. I'm over with my time, yes. But this is very important. This is very important for several reasons, because really it is necessary that other people have talked about this, that we be against this last invasion of capital in the search for resources here in the Amazon. But I would like to put another reflection that is important from the ethical point of view. You know those texts of Benjamin Franklin, which he wrote in the 18th century, which says that the time is money. And he says that money makes money. So he compares money with the fertility of a female swine with a soul. And I compare this text to a text of David Copenhagen, who is a shaman, a philosopher, in which David talks about a civilizing hero whom, when he teaches the work, he teaches fertility. So if nature is fertile, if money is fertile, the nature is sterile. If nature is fertile, money is sterile. So I believe that this ethical debate is one of the biggest struggles of our times. Thank you. Thank you, Roberto. We want a fertile Amazon and without violence, because you can't have one thing without the other thing. A lack of violence in nature, a fertile nature. I thank you for those who are participating in the auditorium. We're coming to the crucial part of the assembly, which is what are we going to do after this meeting? And then at the forum, what is coming? What is being built and which paths are we going to follow? I give the floor to Janaína, who introduces the closure of our event with a closure that is going to be full of energy. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, Álvaro, to have spent the morning here with us. And thank you to all who are following here in the auditorium and virtually. And I'd like to invite Father Dario Bossi as to how to continue here in the assembly and how we'll continue with the FUSPA. This struggle is ours. This struggle is of the people. It is with justice that a new world is born. Struggle is ours. The struggle is of the people. It is with justice that we make a new world. Where is the World Assembly of the Amazon after this big time of hearing, of this rereading of where the Amazon is? What are the paths that we're going to follow? You know that AMA, the World Amazon Assembly, is a plural, free, self-summoned space for convergence. It wants to Amazonize the communities, our countries, and call the world to Amazonize itself. So that's why it dares to be called World Assembly for the Amazon. So we will try to escalate this, both nationally and internationally, into the actions and reivindications that we have. In today's situation, from everything we heard, we will need, at the same time, to have knowledge to look ahead, but also the urgency to give answers right now. This is the decisive decade, and we have 90 months around to give an answer to the shout of the Amazon, to give an answer in times that will be more and more conflictive times, or attack, but also of manifestation, of reivindication. So it is we have several directions. We have to consolidate all forms of resistance that will appear in the Amazon. At the time of conflict, we are here to say, no, we shall not abandon you. Each one should hold each other's hand, will not let go any hands. We have to back up reivindication. That's the first direction we have. The second direction, it is international. and has to do with the extractivist model that everybody has pointed out here and denounced. A stop to that predatory model, a stop to commercial agreements that sell the Amazon. So a work of boycott of the commodities sold to other countries. Also, alert consuming to stop eating the Amazon. Another direction is to make the Amazon a world subject. So this world movement that we will hear about, it has to do with the proposal of the Earth Assemblies, a great summoning, the voice of the peoples against the climatic hypocrisy. World assemblies to globalize the scream of the Amazon and to make it a solidary, universal solidary movement. And the last direction that AMA may follow is the systemic alternatives, to rethink the model as a whole. It's all the area of the rights of nature. We've heard of the importance of a parliamentary front that might defend the rights of nature. The whole path of just, fair transitions made, taking into account the interest of the peoples. And the martyrs, together with the martyrs for the Amazon, say, life to the Amazon. Thank you, Father Dario. We will have an activity for the martyrs of the Amazon, and outside we have a band that may have featured the names of those who lost their lives because of COVID. And to make our conclusions and to resume all the demands that we've heard today from all the people's territories and themes that we've worked on in this morning, I would like to invite Professor José Correa, who is a member of Collective 660. Thank you. The task that was given me to summarize everything that was said here today is impossible. So we are now like a bit late in our time. We have gone over our time for today, this morning, and I will only give a sequence to what Padre Dario said. I would like to remind you that there is a fighting process that is very much alive in Latin America. We are seeing rebellions of the peoples and who are victorious. We've just seen this in Ecuador. The 10 points raised by the popular movement of Ecuador were capable of stopping the destruction policy that was happening. And we have to do precisely that, but collectively, in a convergent way, among all the countries of Pan-Amazonia region. We have to have a common horizon. I'm not reading to you a long text. You will understand the reason why, but I'd like to point out this common horizon. And without any diagnosis here, I'd just like to describe what they are. A first issue is that we need to reconstitute the environmental policies, reconstitute the systems so that these policies become the interest of the peoples and not the corporations' interests, the depredatory interests and corporative interests. The second is the defense of the territories. We've talked about that. That should happen as a goal. Luis talked about that, so that it points towards the fact that the Amazon becomes an asset of its peoples and humanity, its defenders, and of all life on the planet. We have seen an offensive, an attack by militarization, against life, against the defenders of the forest, and against the rights, human rights. And this has to be reverted. This struggle for human security, for peace, is a convergence fight that has to be forwarded in every single one of our countries. And the fourth point is deforestation. Fires that have to be eliminated. Stop fires in the Amazon, stop destruction of the forest. This is a struggle for life against death. It is a life for life that will win. Rights of nature. This has to be embedded in the head of everyone. It is a cultural revolution that we needed to impose. And impose, as all cultural revolutions, a long process, yes, but a multidimensional process. The parliamentary front, philosophic debates, the struggles in everyday life, the discussions on the food system, the change in ways of life in the city, in the fields, in the forests. A sixth element is what Luis put forth to us. There is no way to have a predatory economy in the Amazon. The scale of what should be the economic vocation of Pan-Amazonian has to be an object of another project for society and for world. And this is connected, naturally, to the change this has to be changed in the extractivist view of the Amazon. Food sovereignty, ecology, agroforest, and integrated management of territories, all this has to take to another model for economy that will not restrict itself to the Amazon. It has to incorporate the whole of our continent. This is connected to energetic and productive transition. There will be dozens of talks of this in the FOSPA. I won't stop here. I won't focus that. But that has to do with the whole history of our peoples for employment, with income, social justice. And I will concentrate now only on the innovative proposal that we are formulating in the scenario of AMA, which is the evaluation that the system, the UN system for climate conferences has failed. The COPs, the COPs, for 30 years have not brought any concrete results. And the next COPs will be in petroleum producing countries. And there's not at random. We have to have an alternative. And that is not an alternative only for environmental struggle or the Amazonian peoples and all those who are in solidarity with their struggle. It is an alternative for humanity as a whole. The World Assembly of the Amazon, for the Amazon, is proposing that we make earth assemblies in a process that might be able to congregate the living forces that struggle against climate urgencies, energetic crisis, and all that struggle against the death of the planet. So the idea is that we, from now on, begin a process of constitution, an international process for the constitution of earth assemblies that might serve as a counterpoint to the COPs, that might really offer an alternative from the point of view of life regarding what is the management of the ecological collapse of the planet. So earth assemblies are being forwarded within a tradition of thinking of a world in an ample way, thinking of a world from our most ambitious dreams, thinking of the great motherland, Pachamama, but also to think for the planet, an alternative in which we believe to be brought forth from Ama, from Fospa, from the Amazon region and its peoples. This is what we are visualizing as a most ambitious proposal that we might forward in the next period. Along the next few days, we will discuss this and we'll call all of you to participate in these debates. I'm not here to make an insisting appeal or making a closure. I just want to synthesize, to summarize some of the ideas, forces, and emphasizing the importance of thinking of an alternative to face climate emergency in the world, which is the Earth Assemblies. Thank you very much. Now, coming back to our activities, it's me who thank you. This is the invitation so that you and us might come into struggles and resistances for the Amazon. I want to thank Alvaro and everybody who participated, talking, and everybody who was present here, both presentially and virtually. And I want to thank the technical team who's operated the sound and all the translations to Portuguese, English, Spanish, French, and also thank the interpreters of Brazilian Sign Language who are here with us. Thank you all for being with us. Thanking from our hearts, translators, technicians, those who are in internet listening and hearing the sweet words that come from the Amazon. Well, we'll have our Earth Assemblies, yes, because we have to defend with much justice and urgency, and we have no other option. Either we have to rebel or to extinguish. With that creativity, we'll make a very, very special closure with our colleague Iramar and company. He won't be alone here in this closure of the World Assembly for the Amazon from Belém do Pará city in Brazil. Let's hear Iramar, our friend, our colleague from FOSPA. And from Colombia, there was another singer. Well, hey, here he is. And look at the eyes of your colleagues near you while we hear this. Okay, let's stand up to, relax the body and for the soul to walk along these Amazon paths for a great Mother Earth. So the song of FOSPA, the FOSPA song, so that we dance and sing here. Where are the maracas? Let's go to Belém to do whatever it is to unite initiative. The struggle continues. To celebrate life too. Let's celebrate life. FOSPA is movement and action that comes to Belém in its 10th edition, making commitments, facing the destruction. Let's go to Belém to do whatever has to be done, uniting initiative and struggle. Let's go to Belém, unifying the initiative, and to celebrate life. In the Amazon, ecocide is a crime. And so we make a struggle in defense of Mother Earth. Let's go to Belém to do whatever has to be done, uniting initiative and to continue fighting. Let's go to Belém to do what has to be done, uniting initiative and to celebrate life. That's how we get to Belém. It is urgent to have a good living. It's a noble cause. It's present and future of the common house. Our people in a struggle. We are just one intention. Let's go to Belém, uniting initiative and continue fighting. Let's go to Belém, uniting initiative and celebrating life.
Hay defensa la madre tierra en la casa común. Llegamos a Belén a hacer lo que será como cuerpos, territorios, marcas de resistencia, dejando esperanzar por la casa común. Llegamos a Belén a hacer lo que será como cuerpos, territorios, marcas de resistencia, dejando de esperanzar por la casa común. Bienvenidas, bienvenidas.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Thank you, Iremar. Well, let's get nearer to take a picture of this family. And Agripino from Colombia will share with us a song which summarizes what has happened in this morning. And let's get together in this photograph. Good afternoon. It's a different way to say things that we share. We have the good land with streams and cascades, and to defend it, we are valiant people. Our great Amazon continues to be mistreated. The ambition of the powerful have it devastated. All the Amazon should be very much respected, it being a gift of God to sacred life. To take care of the common house, I will be advancing at the front because the whole of creation is an inherited good. This invitation invites us to live in harmony, all aware that we are the Amazon. Let us be defenders of the Amazon and its rights, because we are communities with words and facts and acts. The models impose to us neoliberal policies that threaten and destroy, and they are very harmful. Life is being threatened in the whole of the Amazon, and the economic models are devastating. As Amazonian beings, for happiness, we are the big Amazon. To struggle for dignified life, the people is doing that. To liberate the Amazon of all extractivism. The state policies do not permit harmony that there should be in the peoples of the whole of the Amazon. In this big assembly, we are gratefully present here, searching for the construction of a different world. The governments nowadays promote something very unfair because they advance with projects that are destruction and death. United in the assembly and in the permanent struggle, let's save the Amazon because we're valiant people. What we share today are Amazonian knowledge parts. Let's struggle for the Amazon because we are Amazonian people. For us and for others, the Amazon is greatness. Let's live in harmonies, God, man, and nature. Let's fight together with love and no laziness. Let them recognize our rights. Let them recognize the rights of Mother Nature. More water, more life, more water, because we are the Amazon. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Agrippino. Well, let's get together to take the photograph of this great family, of this great amata that sustains us all in the Amazon. Well, somebody has to take the picture here, right? So please come to the front in the middle to make a picture of our meeting today. Peraí. Quietinho.
Oi, gente, todo mundo subindo no palco para a gente poder tirar essa foto.
Please come over to the scenario so that we can have the picture made with a placard behind.